This video is about Hermes steals sacred scroll but God's attack. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the land of Ethyria, where the sky kissed the mountains and the oceans whispered secrets to the shores, the gods loomed large, their divine laughter echoing through the valleys. Among them, Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger, was known for his cunning and mischievous nature. With a heart filled with ambition and a mind sharper than a blade, he danced between the realms of gods and mortals, draped in a cloak of trickery. Ethyria thrived under the watchful eyes of the gods, but beneath the surface a tempest brewed. The sacred scroll of fate, the Chronos manuscript asterisk, lay ensconced in the temple of Aletheia, radiating unprecedented power. Forged by the fates themselves, it held the secrets of destiny, a treasure coveted by mortals and deities alike. Legends whispered that whoever possessed the scroll could alter time and twist the threads of fate. In the celestial halls of Mount Olympus, Zeus reclined upon his golden throne, a storm brewing in his eyes as he spoke. The balance of power is threatened. The mortals grow restless, and whispers of rebellion seep through the ether. We must secure the Chronos manuscript asterisk. Hermes, he called, his voice echoing like thunder. You shall ensure its safety. No one must possess it but the gods. But Hermes, driven by an insatiable thirst for freedom and adventure, saw a golden opportunity. The thrill of the heist beckoned. Underneath his calm demeanor lay a tempest of ambition. That night, as the silver moon bathed Olympus in its soft glow, Hermes made his decision. The scroll would be his. Under the cover of darkness, Hermes donned his winged sandals and summoned the winds. They lifted him high above the clouds, where starlight illuminated his path. The temple awaited, a colossal structure of marble and gold, guarded by fierce creatures known as the custodians, monstrous beings forged from shadows and ancient magic. As Hermes landed softly on the cool stone of the temple, he could hear the distant growls of the custodians echoing through the halls. Silently, he pushed the ornate door open, stepping into the sacred sanctuary where the air crackled with a potent energy. There, upon a pedestal carved with intricate runes, lay the Chronos manuscript asterisk, glistening like the sun reflecting on the ocean. His heart raced. This was it, the moment he had longed for. As he approached the scroll, a sense of foreboding washed over him. The temple was alive, and the custodians prowled, sensing the disturbance in the sacred ground. He could almost hear their breath, a mix of predator and prey. Just as Hermes reached for the scroll, a deep growl erupted behind him. The largest of the custodians, a creature with molten eyes and obsidian skin, emerged from the shadows, its claws glinting dangerously. Foolish god of trickery, it snarled, its voice a rumble of thunder. You dare disturb the sanctity of fate? Hermes recoiled but quickly regained his composure. I come not to disturb, but to liberate, he declared, brandishing his wit like a sword. The gods have grown complacent, and it is time for change. With a swift motion, he snatched the scroll, and the temple erupted into chaos. The custodians lunged forward, their fierce snarls filling the air as Hermes dashed towards the exit. He could feel the weight of destiny shifting. The scroll was more than just parchment, it was a living entity, a pulse of power that throbbed in his hands. Just as he reached the grand doors, the largest custodian blocked his path. You cannot escape. The scroll is not yours to take, it boomed, its voice echoing like the clash of storms. Hermes, ever quick thinking, launched a small trickster's smoke bomb into the air, engulfing the room in a thick, swirling mist. Fate belongs to those who dare, he shouted, his voice a melody of defiance, as he leaped past the creature, narrowly avoiding its grasp. The smoke swirled around him, concealing his escape, but the custodians were relentless. The moment Hermes burst into the night sky, the world transformed around him. The winds howled with fury, and the clouds churned ominously, as if the gods themselves were aware of the theft. He soared through the air, the scroll clutched tightly against his chest, the thrill of victory coursing through his veins. Yet destiny had other plans. As he flew over the mountains, a blinding bolt of lightning fought through the sky, striking the earth with a deafening crack. Hermes faltered mid-flight, the force of the divine wrath sending him spiraling downwards. He landed with a harsh thud on the rocky ground, the scroll slipping from his grasp and rolling away, skimming across the gravel. Emerging from the shadows, the custodians had followed him, their eyes glowing with fury. The largest, its presence looming like a dark storm, approached. You cannot defy the will of the gods, Hermes, it roared. You will pay for your insolence. Hermes scrambled to retrieve the scroll, but the custodians closed in, surrounding him like a pack of wolves. You underestimate the power of the divine, he shouted defiantly, his heart pounding against his ribs. The scroll pulsed ominously, as if sensing the danger encroaching. With a flick of his wrist, Hermes summoned a gust of wind, propelling himself backward, but the custodians were relentless. They lunged at him, their claws glistening in the moonlight. He dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding their grasp, and called upon the magic of the scroll itself. "I will not bow to fate," Hermes declared, tapping into the scroll's essence, a surge of power enveloping him. The air crackled with energy, and suddenly the landscape shifted. The custodians found themselves caught in a mirage, illusions of their darkest fears manifested around them. The largest custodian shrieked, momentarily bewildered. "What sorcery is this?" "Not sorcery, but cunning," Hermes laughed, seizing the moment to dash toward the safety of the forest, the scroll safely cradled in his arms. But deep down, he felt the weight of his actions. He had stolen destiny itself. The consequences would be dire, and the gods would not take this lightly. Still, the thrill of freedom surged through him. He could feel the pulse of the scroll resonating with his heart, a bond that would forever tie him to the threads of fate. As he reached the edge of the forest, he glanced back at the temple, realizing that his life had changed irrevocably. In the distance, the divine glow of Olympus shone like a beacon. Hermes knew the gods would come for him, and the hunt for the thief of fate would soon begin. The air crackled with tension as he pressed on, uncertainty swirling around him like a storm. Deep within the shadows, the custodians regrouped, their eyes blazing with vengeance. "He shall pay," the largest snarled, its voice fierce as thunder. "The scroll must be returned to its rightful place." In the heart of the forest, Hermes paused to catch his breath, the haunting realization dawning upon him. He had triggered a war of woe between the gods and himself. The winds whispered of destiny and fate, and as he clutched the scroll, he felt the weight of worlds upon his shoulders. "Let the gods come," he whispered to the shadows, a defiant grin spreading across his face. "I will not be a pawn in their game. I am the herald of change." And so began the tale of Hermes, the god who defied the very fabric of destiny, setting forth a chain of events that would echo through time, a tale of honor, tragedy, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. Little did he know that the storm was only beginning, and the gods' wrath would soon rain down upon him with all their fury. The embers of chaos had been ignited, and the world would never be the same again. As the first light of dawn broke over Etheria, the world held its breath, teetering on the edge of chaos. In the depths of the forest, Hermes crouched low, the sacred scroll clutched tightly against his chest. The rush of adrenaline faded, replaced by the chill of dread as he listened to the distant roars of the custodians, now relentless in their pursuit. Shadows danced between the trees, twisting and turning as the whispers of fate echoed around him. "Foolish god," Hermes muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "What have I done? The gods are not known for their mercy." He glanced at the scroll, its shimmering surface reflecting the flickers of sunlight, and felt a pang of regret ripple through him. He had become a thief of destinies, a traitor to Olympus, and the weight of that betrayal pressed heavily upon his heart. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath him. The largest custodian, a creature of shadows and fury, emerged from the thicket. Its molten eyes glowed with a burning rage, and its voice boomed like thunder. "Hermes, you cannot hide from your fate. Return the scroll, and perhaps we will spare your life." Hermes, quick-witted as ever, leapt to his feet, determination igniting in his chest. "You think I would return it willingly? No, the scroll belongs to the brave, not to the complacent." With that, he sprinted deeper into the forest, his feet barely touching the ground as he called upon the winds for assistance. They whipped around him, lifting him from the earth and propelling him forward. But the custodians were relentless, their guttural growls resonating in his ears, echoing through the trees like a foreboding drum. "Flee if you must, Hermes," the beast taunted, its voice dripping with malice. "But know that the gods do not forgive, nor do they forget." As he wove through the dense woods, Hermes felt the pull of destiny tightening around him. Each step echoed with the choices he had made, the paths he had chosen. He could hear the whispers of the fates in the rustling leaves, urging him to reconsider his rebellion. Yet a fire burned within him, a desire to carve his own path, unbound by the chains of divine decree. "Who are you to dictate my fate?" he shouted back, pushing forward with renewed resolve. "I may be a god, but I am not a puppet." The forest around him shifted, as if responding to his words, and he stumbled into a clearing bathed in golden light. At its center stood an ancient stone altar etched with runes of power. Hermes felt an instinctive pull toward it, and for a brief moment he considered the legends he had heard. The altar was said to be a place of sacrifice, a link between the mortal and divine realms, where one could seek favor from the gods or unleash their wrath. The custodians burst into the clearing, their forms shifting like smoke, a cacophony of snarls and growls. "You think you can hide here," the largest one hissed, advancing slowly. "This altar will not save you." Hermes, desperate and aware of the slim chances left to him, leapt onto the altar, placing the scroll down reverently. "If I am to confront destiny," he declared, his voice booming across the clearing, "then let it be here, at the altar of sacrifice." The custodians froze, intrigue flashing in their molten eyes. "What are you doing, trickster? You seek to bargain with fate?" The largest taunted, though uncertainty crept into its voice. "Yes, sir," Hermes shouted, his heart racing. "I will offer this scroll to the fates, but I demand a choice, a chance to reshape my destiny. In exchange, I shall bear the burden of my actions." The air thickened with tension, and an otherworldly stillness fell over the clearing. The wind seemed to hush, waiting for the judgment that hung in the balance. A ripple of energy coursed through the altar, and Hermes felt the connection to the very fabric of reality, as if the strands of fate wove around him, binding him to the moment. The largest custodian narrowed its eyes, a flicker of doubt flashing across its face. "You are a fool, Hermes. Do you think the fates would listen to a thief?" Yet even as it spoke, Hermes could sense a shift in the air, the latent magic responding to his bold words. Suddenly, from the shadows of the forest, a figure emerged, a woman cloaked in silvery mist, her face radiant yet stern. She was Clotho, one of the fates, the weaver of life-s threads. "You dare to summon me, Hermes?" she demanded, her voice resonating like the toll of a great bell. "I do," Hermes proclaimed, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. "I seek not only to atone for my transgressions, but to carve a new fate for all of Etheria. The gods have grown stagnant, controlled by their own hubris. I wish to change that." Clotho regarded him with a penetrating gaze, weighing his words as if they held the weight of mountains. "You speak of change, but beware, young god, for every thread you weave anew, another shall unravel. Are you prepared to bear the consequences?" Hermes felt his pulse quicken. "I will accept whatever price must be paid. Just allow me the chance to redefine destiny." With a wave of her hand, Clotho summoned a shimmering thread from the altar. "Very well, Hermes, you seek to alter fate, and in doing so, you will awaken a great storm that will test your resolve, challenge your spirit, and bind you to the consequences of your actions." As she spoke, the thread entwined with the scroll, pulsing with energy, and Hermes felt a surge of power engulf him. "The balance of fate has shifted," she intoned, her voice echoing through the clearing. "You shall face trials that will push you to the brink, and through those trials, your true character will be revealed." And just like that, the moment shattered. A vision flashed before Hermes, a tempest of fury unleashed upon Etheria, the skies darkening as gods turned against each other, and heroes fell in battles of consequence. He saw himself at the center, torn between loyalty and rebellion, the scroll a curse and a blessing intertwined. "Fate is not only yours to command, Hermes," Clotho cautioned, her voice fading like smoke. "But remember, every choice you make may lead to tragic outcomes. Choose wisely." As the vision receded, Hermes collapsed to his knees, sweat beading on his brow. The scroll lay before him, still pulsing with the energy of the fates. The custodians, their faces twisted in confusion and anger, drew closer, sensing the shift in the air. "Foolish trickster," the largest custodian roared, lunging forward. "You've sealed your undoom." Hermes sprang to his feet, heart racing. "No, I will not be a pawn. I will wield this power." He called upon the energy of the scroll, feeling it surge through him, and with a flick of his wrist, he unleashed a torrent of magic into the air. The custodians were thrown back, crashing into the trees as the clearing erupted into chaos. The very ground shook, and the sky crackled with raw energy. Hermes felt invincible, but the weight of Clotho's warning echoed through his mind. "Face your fate," he shouted defiantly as the magic coalesced around him, forming a shimmering barrier. The custodians snarled and growled, their fury now mingled with fear. But amidst the chaos, Hermes realized that he was not alone. The forest began to respond to his call, the trees bending under the weight of magic, their roots twisting and growing, forming a protective barrier around him. The spirits of the forest, awakened by his boldness, surged forth to aid him. "Together, we will defy destiny," he cried, feeling the spirit's energy coursing through him. The custodians roared in fury, but they were now outnumbered by the ancient forces of nature. "It is time for the gods to learn that they cannot control fate without facing the consequences," Hermes declared, determination blazing in his eyes. "We shall show them the strength of rebellion." And with that proclamation, the battle began anew, a clash of titans echoing through the ancient trees. The winds howled as the spirit surged forward, pushing back against the shadows that sought to entrap him. Hermes, entwined with fate, fought not just for his freedom but for the very soul of Etheria. In that moment, he understood. To wield destiny was not just about defiance, it was about embracing the burden of choice, the weight of sacrifice. The gods would not let go easily, and the trials ahead would be fierce. But as he fought, he felt a flicker of hope, a belief that with each action he could forge a new path for himself and his world. Chaos reigned, but within it, the seeds of change took root. The battle raged on, and the air was filled with the clash of magic and the roars of the custodians echoing through the forest. Hermes, with the scroll of fate in his grasp, was no longer merely a messenger of the gods. He had become a force of change. As the clash of magic and shadow reverberated through the ancient forest, Hermes felt the pulse of the asterisk, Chronos' manuscript asterisk, thrumming against his chest. The pulse surged within him, mingling with his divine essence, infusing his every movement with an electric intensity. This is not merely a battle to reclaim solemn fate, it was a fight for the very soul of Etheria. Hermes, the voice cut through the chaos. It was a sylph, the spirit of the forest, her form shimmering like morning dew. We are with you. Together, we shall weave a new destiny. The winds howled as the custodians regrouped, their monstrous forms rising from the underbrush like nightmares were born. Foolish spirits, you cannot protect your master, the largest of the custodians bellowed, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. You shall all perish for his arrogance. With a fierce cry, Hermes called upon the magic of the asterisk, Chronos' manuscript asterisk, feeling threads of time and fate intertwined around him. Then so be it, let this be the day we redefine destiny. He thrust his arms forward, directing a torrent of shimmering energy toward the oncoming custodians, the very fabric of reality bending to his will. A spell erupted in a dazzling display of light, illuminating the forest in a kaleidoscope of colors. The custodians shrieked as the magic surged forward, a wave of brilliance that washed over them, igniting their forms in blinding fire. The ground shook beneath them, and the trees quivered, the leaves shimmering with an ethereal glow. Stand strong, spirits! Hermes shouted, rallying them as they surged alongside him. We will not yield to shadow. We are the guardians of our fate. The custodians lunged, their shadowy claws poised to strike, but the spirits of the forest answered Hermes' call, charging forward with an unyielding force. They collided with the monstrous beings, the light cutting through the darkness like blades of hope. The air crackled with energy, and the forest ignited into a maelstrom of magic and fury. Unleash your wrath! Hermes roared, summoning the winds to whip into a frenzy around him, blades of energy spiraling from his fingertips. He felt the ground beneath him shift, the very essence of the forest bending to his intent. One of the custodians, eyes aflame with anger, lunged at Hermes, claws outstretched. He dodged expertly, rolling beneath its grasp and retaliating with a blast of brilliant light that sent it crashing into a nearby tree. Splinters exploded into the air, and the custodian howled with pain. Foolish trickster, the largest custodian roared, frustration lacing its tone. You think you can defy the will of the gods? Not just the gods. Hermes charged back, his heart pounding in time with the rhythm of battle. But all who dared to impose their will upon the free spirits of Etheria. With renewed fervor, Hermes wove through the chaos, empowering the spirits, their forms melding into radiant figures of light as they fought back against the custodians. They howled and shrieked, but their voices were drowned out by the roar of magic that filled the air. One by one, the custodians fell, their dark forms dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Forests trembled in triumph, but the largest custodian remained, its rage palpable. You cannot escape your fate, Hermes, your defiance will bring ruin upon all. Then let it come. Hermes shouted, channeling the energy of the asterisk, Chronos' manuscript asterisk, into a brilliant sphere of light. I will face any storm to reclaim my destiny. He held the energy forward, and it collided with the custodian, the explosion resonating like a thunderclap, shaking the very ground beneath them. As the dust settled, the form of the custodian flickered, the shadows writhing as it struggled against the light. You may have won this battle, it hissed, its voice echoing with an otherworldly resonance, but the war is far from over. And I will be ready, Hermes declared, feeling the weight of his journey settle upon him. The forest erupted in a chorus of victory, the spirits swirling around him, their forms intertwining in a dance of light. But beneath the surface, a heavy tension lingered in the air, the certainty that the gods would not let his defiance go unanswered. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the clearing, Hermes felt a shift within him. The magic of the asterisk, Chronos' manuscript asterisk, had awakened something profound, a connection to the threads of fate that bound him to all living beings. Yet, he also sensed the weight of the choices he had made, the consequences that would ripple through time. Gather the spirits, Hermes instructed, looking around at the shimmering forms surrounding him. We must prepare for the wrath of the gods. As the forest began to quiet, the familiar voice echoed through the trees. UV stirred a hornet's nest, Hermes. It was Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, her presence illuminating the darkening woods. What have you done? Hermes faced her, heart racing. I have stolen the asterisk, Kronos' manuscript asterisk, to reshape our destiny, Athena. The gods have become complacent, and it is time for us to take control of our fates. Athena stepped closer, her golden armor gleaming in the dim light. Your ambition is admirable, but you cannot fight fate without facing its consequences. The gods will come for you, and the fallout could be catastrophic. I am prepared to bear the burden, Hermes insisted, determination etched upon his features. The choice is mine, and I will not be a puppet. Athena studied him, her eyes reflecting the weight of ages. Then I shall stand with you, Hermes, but know this: a reckoning is upon us, and you must be ready for the trials that await. At her words, a distant rumble echoed through the air, a harbinger of the storm to come. The winds began to swirl, a tempest brewing on the horizon. As the first drops of rain fell, Hermes felt the energy of the asterisk, Kronos' manuscript asterisk, pulse in response, a reminder of the power now at his command. Let it rain, he declared, raising his arms to embrace the storm. The skies darkened, and the heavens opened, unleashing torrents of rain that cascaded down upon the forest. The spirits danced amidst the downpour, their laughter ringing like chimes in the tempest. But even as he relished the moment, Hermes could not shake the sense of impending doom. The gods would not be idle. They would come for him, and when they did, he would have to confront not only their wrath, but the very fabric of destiny itself. This passed, the storm never relenting, as Hermes and the spirits prepared for the inevitable confrontation. They trained tirelessly, honing their skills, forging bonds that transcended the boundaries of mortal and divine. Together, they crafted strategies, blending magic and strength, forming a united front against the darkness that loomed. Then, one fateful night, as the moon rose high and full, casting a silver glow over the forest, the air grew still. A palpable tension hung in the atmosphere, a prelude to chaos. Hermes, standing at the edge of the clearing, felt the familiar pulse of the scroll, a call to arms echoing through his very essence. Ready yourselves, he called to the spirits, a fire igniting in his belly. The gods are coming. A piercing cry shattered the night, a herald of the divine. From the shadows emerged a legion of celestial warriors, their forms radiant and fierce, wings unfurling like a tempest. At their forefront strode Zeus himself, the king of gods, his presence commanding and terrifying. Hermes, he bellowed, voice echoing through the trees, shaking the very foundations of the earth. You dare to defy the will of Olympus? You have brought shame upon us all. I brought change. Hermes shouted in defiance, standing tall against the tide of divinity. The balance of power must shift. No longer will we be slaves to the whims of fate. The gods exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and wrath. You would pit yourself against your own kin? Athena's voice cut through the tension, a mixture of disappointment and concern. You risk everything for your folly. There is no folly in seeking freedom. Hermes retorted, the skull glowing fiercely in his grasp. I will not kneel before complacency. With that declaration, the skies erupted in a cacophony of thunder and lightning. The gods charged, their divine might colliding with the spirits of the forest, a tempest unleashed upon the earth. The very ground trembled as magic and fury clashed, a symphony of chaos painting the skies with flashes of brilliance. Stand strong. Hermes shouted to the spirits, feeling the resonance of the scroll guiding him. He launched himself into the fray, weaving between the celestial warriors, his heart racing with the thrill of battle. He felt alive, a conduit of destiny itself, embracing the storm of conflict that surged around him. As he fought, Hermes unleashed the power of the asterisk, Kronos' manuscript asterisk, bending time to his will, creating rifts in reality that disrupted the gods' advances. The spirits surged beside him, their forms intertwining with magic. As the clash of divinity erupted in the heart of the forest, Hermes felt the raw power of the asterisk, Kronos' manuscript asterisk, pulsating through him, a living heartbeat of magic that intertwined with each pulse of his own. He darted through the chaos, his winged sandals propelling him forward, dodging blasts of celestial energy as the gods descended upon him like a storm. Do not let them overwhelm you, he shouted to the spirits, their luminous forms swirling around him, a tapestry of light and resilience against the encroaching darkness. Each spirit embodied the very essence of the forest, their connection to nature amplifying Hermes' own resolve. They surged forth, wielding the energies of the earth. Roots became spears, vines transformed into whips of energy, and branches arced like shields against the divine onslaught. The air was thick with tension as Zeus, the god of thunder, unleashed a furious bolt of lightning toward Hermes. With a flick of his wrist, Hermes summoned a gust of wind, deflecting the strike harmlessly into the sky. You think you can stop me with mere lightning? Hermes taunted, a mischievous glint igniting his eyes. I am the storm. Enough of this insolence. Zeus roared, his voice echoing like the crack of thunder, his eyes blazing with divine fury. You will learn respect, Hermes, you have betrayed your own. Hermes felt a pang of sorrow, knowing that his actions would fracture the bonds of kinship he had once cherished. Respect is earned, father, not demanded, he shouted back, summoning the energy of the asterisk Chronos manuscript asterisk once more. If you will not change, and I will make you. The scroll glowed brightly in his grasp, and as he channeled its magic, time itself seemed to bend around him. He could see the potential futures unfurl like scrolls before his eyes, each choice, each consequence, each life intertwined. He focused, weaving a web of illusions that twisted the very fabric of reality, scattering the warriors around him into shadows and mirages. Foolish trickster, cried Hera, the queen of the gods, her form shimmering with indignation. You think your tricks will save you, you shall pay for your arrogance. In an instant she conjured a tempest of wrath, summoning winds that howled like banshees, slashing through the forest. Hermes felt the fierce gusts tugging at him, threatening to rip him apart. Hold strong, he commanded, rallying the spirits to reinforce their barriers, intertwining their magic with his own. The winds howled, yet amidst the tempest Hermes stood firm, tapping deeper into the scrollless power. I stand for freedom, for the right to choose our destinies, he declared, his voice rising above the storm. I will not be shackled by fate. With a decisive flourish, Hermes unleashed a wave of radiant light, a fountain of energy cascading through the tempest. The spirits joined him, their voices rising in a harmonious chant, binding their magic to his will. The light surged forward, breaking through the storm, illuminating the battlefield with a brilliance that pushed back the darkness. Attack! Hermes commanded, and the spirits surged forward, racing toward the divine guardians. The custodians, still reeling from their earlier defeat, roared in fury, lunging to protect their masters. The forest erupted into a dance of chaos, a ballet of magic and might clashing against divine fury. The spirits, now fully empowered, transformed into ethereal warriors, striking down the custodians with fierce determination. Roots twisted into tendrils of energy, ensnaring the dark beasts, while the spirits unleashed torrents of light that burned with the intensity of dawn. Forest rang with battle cries, a symphony of defiance echoing through the trees. Hermes! Athena's voice rose above the fray, cutting through the chaos like a spear. You cannot win this fight alone, you must unite the forces of Etheria. I will not be bound by the past, Athena. Hermes retorted, dodging a volley of celestial arrows as they pierced the air around him. I will create a future where we are free to choose our own paths. Then you must choose wisely, she warned, her eyes flashing with concern. The repercussions of your rebellion will not only affect you but all of Etheria. With a fierce resolve, Hermes summoned the essence of the scroll, weaving together the magic of the spirits and the power of the forest. Then I shall unite them, he proclaimed, feeling the energy of the land coalescing around him. Together, we will forge a new destiny. But even as he spoke, Zeus and Hera regrouped, their divine connection amplifying their fury. You will regret this day, Hermes. Zeus bellowed, raising his arms to the heavens. You will face the wrath of Olympus. As dark clouds churned above, Hermes felt the air grow heavy with impending doom. Spirits of the forest, join with me. We are the guardians of our own fate, he cried, channeling the combined energy of the asterisk Chronos manuscript asterisk with every ounce of his being. The ground trembled beneath him, and in that moment, a surge of light erupted from the altar at the center of the clearing. The spirits, now fully aligned with Hermes' vision, formed a protective barrier, their shimmering forms intertwining like vines of luminescence. Now, Hermes shouted, launching himself into the fray, his heart racing with the thrill of battle. He dove toward the gauze, weaving between strikes and blasts of energy, his laughter ringing out like music amidst the chaos. You think you can defeat the spirit of freedom? Zeus unleashed another bolt, but Hermes was faster, evading the strike and retaliating with a surge of magic that crackled in the air. You cannot bind the winds of change, he declared, sending a wave of light cascading toward the king of gods, forcing him to stagger back. But Hera was upon him, a furious tempest of divine wrath. You will bow before us, Hermes, she shouted, her eyes blazing. You are but a child playing with forces you cannot comprehend. Then let me play. Hermes shouted back, tapping deeper into the scroll-less power, unleashing waves of energy that rippled through the ground, creating fissures of light that sent shockwaves through the battlefield. The spirits surged forward, fighting fiercely as they clashed against the gods, their unity a beacon of hope amid the chaos. As the battle raged on, Hermes saw the tide of divinity beginning to shift. The spirits fought with unwavering determination, their magic entwining with the very essence of the forest. The custodians, now weakened and scattered, began to falter under the assault of the united forces. "Hermes!" Athena called out again, her voice cutting through the clamor. "Harness the full power of the asterisk, Chronos manuscript asterisk. You hold the key to our victory." With a fierce glint in his eyes, Hermes grasped the scroll tightly, feeling the ancient magic thrumming beneath his fingertips. "Then let us forge a new destiny," T shouted, channeling all his energy into the scroll, its power erupting in a blinding flash of light. Time itself twisted and spun in spirals around him, a world warping as he tapped into the threads of fate. He could see the myriad paths unfolding before him, the potential futures branching out like the roots of an ancient tree. And in that moment, he made a choice to not just fight for freedom, but to inspire it in others. "Let the power of choice reign," Hermes declared, unleashing the magic in a torrent that surged through the battlefield. The very essence of time rippled through the air, intertwining the destinies of gods and spirits, creating a tapestry of light that bound them all together. As the energy surged forth, the battlefield erupted in a kaleidoscope of colors. Zeus and Hera clashed against the wave of magic, their forms flickering as the reality around them began to warp and shift. "What are you doing?" Zeus bellowed, fear creeping into his voice. "You cannot." But Hermes was resolute. "I can, and I will," he shouted, feeling the strength of Etheria rising within him. The spirits joined him in a chorus, their voices melding into a triumphant anthem that reverberated through the trees. "We shall not be bound by the chains of your will." The wave of magic surged forward, engulfing the gods, and in that moment, the reality of Etheria shifted. The custodians, now illuminated by the light of change, began to transform, their forms reshaping into protectors of the forest, guardians of freedom instead of enforcers of darkness. "Hermes!" Athena called, her voice breaking through the chaos. "You've awakened a new order." With the last surge of energy, Hermes felt the weight of the asterisk Chronos manuscript asterisk settle upon him, its magic intertwining with his own essence. The gods reeled, their faces reflecting disbelief and anger as the forces of nature and divine influence collided in an explosion of light. "Hermes," Zeus rumbled, his voice trembling with the remnants of authority. "What have you done?" "I have claimed our destinies," Hermes declared, standing tall as the light enveloped him, the spirits swirling around him like a celestial crown. "Together, we will forge a future where choice reigns over tyranny." The light aimed,